Lucky Somebody by Dylan Wells. I live in a studio apartment in a complex on Walnut Avenue around the corner from the 99 cent or less, which functions as a grocery store for the neighborhood and a gas station, liquor store that sells relatively cheap gasoline. The relatively cheap gasoline fluctuates around $3 per gallon. It's interesting to compare the price of a gallon of gasoline to a gallon of water or a gallon of vodka. What value do products actually offer for your dollar per gallon? I drive a relatively small off-road type vehicle, but I drive it on public use paved roads. It consumes a lot of gas, relatively, but I consume a lot of gallons of vodka, relatively. I keep my hair short. I never let my facial hair grow much. I wear black jeans, t-shirts, and shoes. I go through lots of sticky lint rollers, sheets on my clothes. I'm not noticeably tall or short, but I'm noticeably thin. I work nights in a grocery store warehouse. Since I first started there, the managers talk about training me on the cash registers to make me a part of the daytime customer service team. Other night warehouse employees have worked there longer than me, but the managers don't assimilate them to the daytime customer service team. I've decided this is because of my age and weight. The people kept in the night warehouse are older and overweight compared to me. When I'm not at work, I stay inside my studio apartment. I work on my creative projects, drawing and reading or writing stories and making journal books. For my journal books, I use black and white cobble composition pads, college ruled with twine binding. My journals have themes like top 15 lists, my favorite 15 anything and everything, things I saw today, general or detailed, meaningless or significant, places to visit, geographic places I'd like to visit in my future, best names, original band names, album names, book titles, etc., all categorized by genre, of course. I usually draw architecture, only what I wish roads and buildings looked like. Maybe blend modern society with ancient Egyptian society, or I draw animals and people, what I wish animals and people looked like. I blend the animals thriving and the person dying out. While working on my projects in my studio apartment, I consume lots of gallons of vodka, relatively. Okay, I want to tell you other stuff. Things simple but meaningful. My favorite color, gray. My cat and my drawings are gray. I had a girlfriend, Elisa, but she's gone, and I hope she's happy and taking care of herself. I hope that genuinely, not sarcastically. She took our gray cat away and some of my gray drawings, the ones I drew of her. Without the cat, I go through a lot of less sticky lint roller sheets. I read a lot of books, relatively. Young adult literature, books about ancient Egypt, the Renaissance, the Holocaust. Young adult Holocaust books are interesting. There are too many of them, though. I like people watching and taking walks. I don't know how to swim. People think that's weird, but they aren't bothered that I don't know how to fly. I'm a land animal, is all. My favorite food is apples, but I hate apple juice. That's details for now. You can look through my top 15 lists in my other journal books if you want to get to know me better. I never assumed those would be interesting to other people, but if you want to look through them, that's okay with me. I'm starting this as my first weekend adventure-themed journal book. It's crazy to think one weekend could fill an entire journal book. I figure by the end of my life, I'll have put together 8 to 10 weekend adventure journal books. So I want to read this first entry in my first weekend adventure and tell me how you think it's going, okay? I'm also interested in notes. You can give me about what details are important or waste of time. Knowing my favorite color and food, or knowing the fact that I can't swim or fly, is that important? Maybe we don't know until the end of each entry. Anyway, okay, here we go. I got off work Friday morning, and luckily they hadn't made me train on the cash registers. I went into the grocery store and bought a few composition books from the back-to-school end cap of the office supply aisle, having this idea for the weekend adventure journals I wanted to start right away. I knew this weekend would be a good start. There's a county fair at Carnival setting up in town, so after work I sat outside the fairgrounds, Yellowgate. watching the carnival vendors, booths, and rides being brought in and set up, colorful, dirty food trucks, colorful, rickety trailers that open into kiddie rides, a small merry-go-round with motorcycles instead of horses, a target practice BB gun shooting range with rubber ducks you shoot to win plush ducks you cuddle. The trailers looked like they were brand new in the 1970s with big rectangle flaps on the sides that flip open while they sell carnival merchandise, jewelry, Indian blankets, dream catchers, percussion instruments that look like tribal and not useful for modern music, religious candles and prayer cards. They set up big rides too. The Ferris wheel, the zipper, the pirate ship. Crowd pleasers, I'm sure. I sat in my off-road vehicle on the side of the public use paved road by the yellow gates and I watched it all. When I got home, I immediately felt depressed. It was like no one was there to greet me. I mean, no one was there to greet me. But the problem was more that I felt it. I mean, I miss Elisa, but I think not having our gray cat to greet me is painful. So this weekend I thought about getting a new pet that would be just mine. And a girl couldn't take when she leaves, since I technically own the pet. It's sad somebody has to technically own every pet. And it's sad how many pets aren't technically owned. I started drinking vodka and I ate 2 apples. I sat on the floor and I worked on new drawings. I drew the front entrance of my studio apartment, looking how I'd want it to look. It looked like a big house, far away from other houses, with gray marble Anubis statues by the front door. Then I tried drawing Elisa from memory, but I couldn't. I just drew outlines of a woman's face with hair falling to the sides and in front a little. I couldn't get any features down. The faces looked like blank Halloween masks. So I drank until I vomited stomach acid into the toilet, and I fell asleep on my bed. I should have eaten more than 2 apples on Friday. I promised myself I would do better on Saturday, but my first weekend adventure entry was off to such a great start. I liked the details about what I was going into the fairgrounds. Those rides and booths are real, so real. People who've been to carnivals should relate to it. I woke up Saturday. I was feeling physically good, though still depressed about the whole no one greeting me thing. I couldn't get that out of my mind. I looked at my drawings and they were terrible. Being lonely was negatively affecting my creativity, but I couldn't let anything ruin this weekend for me. I poured and drank an energy drink with vodka on ice and went out. You know where I was going? How disappointing would it be if I didn't end up going to the carnival? I bought $17 worth of gasoline plus 35-cent debit card fee. Then drove to the fairgrounds, entered the blue gate, and got a parking space for $5. Tickets were $15 per person and per day entry. They offered a 2-day, 1-person entry pass for $25. Total savings, 1 parking space. I took the 2-day pass, determined to make the most of my weekend adventure entry. I walked the fairways and alleys that twisted around the games, booths, rides, and food trucks, doing a lot of good people watching. I got uncomfortable because I noticed no one else was at the carnival alone. The problem wasn't that I was alone. Again, the problem was that I noticed it. If I could make my ability to notice go away, would that fix things? I've realized I have a lot of problems. The biggest problem with my problems is they get in the way of me not having any problems. I'd like to cut down on feeling bad. I don't want to be rich or famous, live in a better city, or find a better job. I just want to feel bad less often. Look, simply noticing no one else at the fair, and I digress like crazy about my emotional problems, is starting to be a real problem. kept thinking I'd see Elisa at the carnival with somebody else. I was so nervous and certain I'd see her any second, maybe getting on the Ferris wheel with somebody else. I got paranoid. I saw a lot Saturday. Most of it insignificant and not worth a journal book entry. The last thing about the carnival is this: I decided on a pet. I just happened upon it and it clicked. It was perfect. Perfect for me, perfect for this weekend adventure. It was a circular booth ring toss game where you toss a ring onto a little jar to win a prize. If you hooked the jar, you hooked a fish. Looking over little jars of goldfish, I saw they were active and friendly, swimming in circles endlessly. Then I saw my pet, the pet I want greeting me when I get home. A jar sat near me with a goldfish floating on its side at the top of the water. He was dead. No people aimed at this jar attempting to win him. I asked the guy working the booth if I could have it. He was confused at first. So I tried to explain the ring toss, and I explained I only wanted dead goldfish, not living ones. On the table I counted 6 dead goldfish total in 6 jars of water. You toss 3 rings for $5. So I gave him $10, and without tossing a ring, I took 6 dead goldfish in their 6 little jars home with me. I walked the carnival with my cardboard soda flat with 6 jars with 6 dead goldfish, and I wasn't alone at the fair anymore. I left soon, though. Nervous again about seeing Elisa with somebody else, I decided to leave before that happened. That night, I could draw Elisa. I drew her now how I want to see her, exactly like she is. I was nervous I might see her at the carnival Sunday. I drew her getting onto the Ferris wheel alone with the safety gate about to close in front of her. Then I drew us on the Ferris wheel together at the arc of the turn at night above the carnival lights. Her holding our gray cat and me holding our bowl of dead fish. The cat left the fish alone because in my drawing everything lives in harmony. I was crying as I drew, which worked to let a few cheers drip onto the fishbowl in the drawing to become the water in the bowl. I dripped a few tears into the real fishbowl and a splash of my vodka because harmony can exist in real life also. That night I drank until I vomited stomach acid into the toilet, and then I fell asleep on my bed. I hadn't thought to eat anything Saturday. Carnival food is awful. I promised myself that I would do better on Sunday. I woke in the night and I watched the fishbowl colors glow in the light from the porch sliding glass door. The water and the fish still turned around the bowl in a concentric circle, just slowly, relatively. The next morning, Sunday, I had a couple of vodka energy drinks while looking at my new fishbowl and my Ferris wheel drawings. I got a little sleep because I wanted to start early on Sunday to make the most of this weekend. I had so much in mind already to put in my first weekend adventure. The goldfish got me thinking. They're very creative, inspiring pets. I decided to draw people like they were fish. So before heading to the carnival, I'd go people watching and work on life drawings, turning the life people I saw into dead fish I wanted to see. I drove to the college I graduated from almost 3 years ago, and I parked for free. I went into the gym, past the exercise equipment and basketball courts, and into the Olympic-sized swimming pool room. I wondered how many gallons are in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Somebody knows. I sat on retractable wood bleachers, watching a few people swimming laps. I drew them in my new 8.5 by 11-inch sketch pad. I drew them all dead, floating laps on their side in the Olympic-sized pool. I got caught up doing it and almost filled all 50 sheets of my new 8.5 by 11-inch sketch pad with drawings of dead fish people floating in an Olympic-sized pool. I was there a long time. People came and went. People sat down on the bleachers and looked at me and then left. No one tried to talk to me all day. You see, that's the thing about people. The living have more subtle ways of occasionally taking bites out of the dead as they pass. Eventually, I was alone in the swimming pool room. The lights were all off and the doors were all shut. I went and tried the doors and they were locked. The swimming pool room and the basketball courts and gym were all closed for the evening and I was locked inside. I knew it'd make a great weekend adventure entry, and I couldn't wait to write about it, only I'd accidentally missed the second day of the carnival. I digressed from life. I wondered if Elisa was waiting for me on the Ferris wheel. Then I felt badly about all the drawings I'd ever drawn. I shouldn't draw life the way I want it to be. I should draw life the way Elisa wants it to be. The only drawings I'd ever done that looked real were my drawings of her. I miss her. And I miss our gray cat. It was my fault she left, not hers. Promised myself I'd do better on Monday. Pulled out a sheet of not yet drawn on from the back of my new 8.5 by 11-inch sketch pad and I wrote a note on it. I wrote, "Please, just don't flush them down the toilet." I signed it, "Lucky Somebody," instead of my real name. I set the paper on top of my new 8.5 by 11-inch sketch pad on the front step of the retractable wood bleachers. I set my gray size 7 mechanical pencil on top of that, and I dove into every gallon of that Olympic-sized swimming.